Spurs trade talks are picking up, and with the San Antonio Spurs starting backcourt looking set for the future, they have been linked to one name for a star young guard out of Portland that could change everything for the look of the San Antonio Spurs moving down the line. We got to discuss the recent talks around Anfernee Simons and exactly what that could look like, plus a little note on a certain Sandro Mamukelashvili and just some more context around history he made yesterday. We got all that and more coming up on this episode of Spurs Digest. But guys, March Madness is here, and if you want to join a fully free bracket just with the username and password and a chance to win thousands of dollars, check this out. We are pumped to be launching a March Madness bracket for the channel. We've partnered with the Hot Takes app and other Digest media channels for this event. It's completely free to sign up. Just download the Hot Takes app, click the March Madness banner at the top, and under groups, select Digest Media Pool. This is super exciting as there's over $25,000 in prizes to be won. And since there's a much smaller pool than normal bracket challenges, there's a real chance you can win big. So check out the link below or scan the QR code to download the app and make sure you use the code DIGEST, all caps DIGEST, when you sign up. You'll get exclusive perks when you join if you do that, guys. This is amazing. The main event round starts on March 16th, so get in quickly. Get in now. If you have any trouble, any questions about signing up, email us. The email will be left down below. Thank you to Hot Takes for partnering with us on this amazing competition. Let's get right into the video, and I want to start with our boy Sandro. Look, I know we've already kind of seen this. We all know what happened, but I just want to give a little more context. First of all, this came in a game where Jeremy Sochan was starting at the 5, and Biyombo was also sharing the bench minutes with Sandro. So I wanted to put that into context first because we know Biyombo's been starting a lot of his games, but hey, you know what? I think Jeremy Sochan's going to end up playing positions 1 through 5 at whatever point, just like the Spurs did with the point guard experiment. We look at this, we're like, look, he's the starting 5 tonight. We're going to play him at center as well so that he can play any given position. And I'm pretty sure statistically, lineups with him at center versus Biyombo are actually better at rebounding. Someone might need to cite my sources on that, but I'm pretty sure that's true. But regardless, what we want to look at there is Sandro, of course, 13 for 14 from the field, 7 for 7 from 3. Insane stuff. But in case you guys didn't see this, which you may have not, this is the most points scored in a game by a player who played under 20 minutes ever. Like, that's just straight up him. And like in recent years, there have been a few players who have scored over 30 in under 20 minutes, but like I think Kevin Durant did it. I think there was a couple other names. But Sandro is the only one to score 34 points. So looking at this game last night, I mean, what a great win versus the New York Knicks. I don't know what's going on in New York. They're still a great team right now. But, you know, there's been some controversy around people standing up for Cat and all this stuff. I don't keep up to date too much on the New York Knicks. And hey, if you want to, check out Knicks Digest. We got them rolling for a long time. But looking at this team, again, we all know about Sandro. We know what kind of happened other places in the game. But I just wanted to highlight Stephon Castle as well because I think he translates very well into this next, or transitions, I should say, well into this next segment. And I wanted to just highlight again the 50% shooting, 22 points, 3 rebounds, 3 assists. His turnovers are down. His personal fouls are down. Like everything, every single game with Castle. Like here's how I know things are going better than we could have imagined, right? When Castle had a good game before, we were always got so hyped, right? We're, oh my gosh, Castle did it again. He did it again. A bad game. Look, it's okay. We want him to play more. Look, we asked for him to start. When Fox went down for the season, we knew it was going to be Castle who was going to start. Not only start, get a lot of minutes as well. 27 minutes, 22 points. Everything we asked for with Stephon Castle is coming true. And now when he has these amazing like 20-point games, which are just becoming commonplace, we don't even like I mean, I still get thrilled, but we're not here like, oh my gosh, look, he did it again. We're like, yeah, that's business as usual for him, which is just, again, like any of these talks, bringing up Jalen Wells or Risa Shea for Rookie of the Year. It's like, nah, give it to Castle. Look at what he's doing with this team, still helping this team get wins. Also, a little shout out to Harrison Barnes, a plus 13 to the starter, only 20 minutes. I really like Harrison Barnes. But yeah, like me, I'm not going to talk too much about that game. We all know what happened, but I just wanted to put some more context to Sandro's amazing game and highlight Stephon Castle a bit because he actually transitions well into this next topic. Now, there have been a lot of trade talks coming up around the Spurs, and I know the deadline's over, but we're talking offseason. But even at the deadline, we were hearing all kinds of rumors around who the Spurs should trade for, this and that. And look, I've seen some articles lately, notably from Calderet at Air Alamo, and I'll link the articles down below. Go give them a read. I'm only going to show some snippets, but you want to get a little deeper look into what they're saying about the trades coming up for the Spurs, have a look. But I wanted to start with this. Looking at the depth chart, right? When you look at the team, what do we need, right? The big answer is, of course, a backup center. Though, again, I mean, we got Sandro. I don't think he's going to be that permanent thing. His defense isn't great, but, a backup center is a big thing. The one thing you might not even think of is another guard. But we know that Chris Paul, we don't know how long he's going to be around, right? Maybe just after this season. We know Fox is coming back. Vassell has been playing more of a 3. We know a guy like Sochan can play the 4s. Harrison Barnes a long-term solution? Not long-term. So another guard is actually an interesting idea when you think about it, especially if it's an elite 6-man type. Now, before I highlight into that, I wanted to mention some of the other guys that Cal mentioned in this recent article that could be big trade targets. I'm not going to dive into Kevin Durant because we've talked about him way too much. It's interesting. He's going to cost too much money. Goodbye. You guys don't want him. I don't want him unless you get him for insanely cheap like a free agent. Fine, maybe. Next. Cam Johnson is a guy that we talked about at the trade deadline, and I actually do think he's a solid fit, especially if he's going to come off the bench. But here's the thing, he's a 20-point-per-game scorer-ish and one of the better three-point shooters in the NBA. That's always a good fit around Victor Wembanyama, no matter what way you cut it, right? A guy like Cam Johnson like that is going to be very effective. I wonder how many minutes he's going to get, and maybe your long-term solution is Fox, Castle, Vassell with Johnson off the bench because you're not going to want to start him. That could be really nice. But the main guy he was talking about, and his number one on this, and he actually wrote another article about it, and it was a name that I really hadn't thought of too much, and that's Anfernee Simons. And in his article, he says Scoot Henderson stuck playing behind starting point guard Anfernee Simons, and Scoot Henderson is finally breaking out of his shell and looking pretty good. Simons has had a down season compared to his career high last year when he posted 22.5 points, 5.5 assists, and shot well on three-point attempts. His decline, as well as Henderson's ascendance, makes him a prime trade candidate. And look, he's a name we've heard around in some trade rumors floating, though I haven't really thought of him as a Spurs guy. I really like Anfernee Simons, but I think of him as a starting caliber guard. And I think, look, where's the room for him in San Antonio? But the more I think about it, if your starting backcourt is Fox and Castle moving forward, right? That's my idea, right? I'm not saying bring in Anfernee Simons to start over Castle. Is Anfernee Simons a better player right now, today, than Stephon Castle? I think some of you might actually even debate that because of the defense that Stephon Castle brings to the game. I would probably say Simons is still better. It's hard to say he's not when he's averaging. He has 20-point per game seasons and he's an elite shooter. And I got some stats to back that up. But he's an interesting idea that I never really thought about. And I want you to go down and comment right now what you think of this as I put some more stats into context. Because we look at his career. He's been in the NBA since he was 19 years old. He was there behind Dame, 4 points in his rookie season, then 8. And then all of a sudden he exploded for 17.5 points per game in 57 games there in the 21-22 season. And then it was back-to-back 20-point per game seasons. And I say elite shooter because his splits, while not insane, 43% in 2020-2021 is really good. 41% on 8 attempts a game the next year. And yes, the next 2 years were 38 and 39%. This year's 37. Look at the free throw percentage. He's right around 90%. And also, as a 2-guard who sometimes handles the ball a lot coming up the floor, right? Kind of plays a sort of a 1 role as well. He's taken a lot of those shots off the bounce, right? And if I bring back up his player card, only 61% of his threes are assisted. That means 40% or 39% of all of his threes are him creating those shots. And when you look at those percentages, that puts it into a much greater context. Not to mention that if he were to play around Victor Wembanyama, he'd have more chances to shoot open threes because of the gravity, again, that Wemby desires. And then you send him in a pick and roll. You can have Simon shooting these pull-up threes. He'd be better at it than De'Aaron Fox, and I think he'd be a nice compliment. Now, there are downsides to a guy like Simons. Again, he plays more of a combo guard role, a bit of a 2-guard role when he's 6'3", but he can handle the ball off the bench as well. So you can kind of run him as a backup 1, a backup 2, and he's also the kind of guy that if one of your other dudes is having an off night or they're injured, he can come in and fill that space pretty well with Fox and Castle. The question is, how much would it cost to get him? Are the Blazers even considering moving him with Henderson coming up on the rise? Because Simons is still a very young player in the grand scheme of things. And would he actually be that good a fit in San Antonio? Would he want to be that 6-man kind of role? Because I just can't see him as a starter long term, not with the roster that we've built up so far. So I want to know what you guys have to say, because I think it's a very interesting name, to be honest, that I hadn't really thought of a ton. But the more I think about it, the more I think it could actually work. And having him as that 6-man type of guy, he's the kind of guy that's like, probably not a starter, or at least not a high-end starter, maybe a lower tier-end starter on a really, really, really good championship caliber team. But as a 6-man, he might just be exactly what you want. So let me know your thoughts down below, because that'll do it for this episode of Spurs Digest. If you enjoyed just one thing, join our March Madness bracket. It's completely free. Username and password. you guys can win literally thousands of dollars. Like, check our community posts, all that stuff. I'm in it. All the other hosts on this channel, all the hosts across all of Digest Media are in on it. It's a small pool. It's only a few hundred people, so you have a real chance to win big. I've been your host, Josh Gosse. I'll catch you in the next one.